Hey guys, I got a neat trick for you in Serpens 3 add-on creation tool. I am not sponsored by Serpens, but as you all know, I love to make add-ons. And this is one I was playing around with a while back, the hard surface toolbox, and I figured, what the heck, I got an extra hour tonight, just gonna play with this thing and start making it. And then I came across a neat little setup here with some variables where if I switch this, I can get my button to show a mesh object, and I will only loop through the objects in the view layer. And if I hit the button again, I'm now only looping through the point lights. So this could be a very useful tool for minimizing your add-on and not displaying a whole bunch of stuff. So let's jump right in. All right, so I'm starting out with a point light and a mesh object. I'll just go ahead and drop in a panel. I'm going to drop in a loop for interface, and I'm going to move it a little bit of faster pace here than usual. And now with this loop, I want to just go ahead and switch this to property so don't forget. I'm going to grab the cube, right click, copy context. Go to Blend Data Browser, make sure I'm in context. And I want to switch to the view layer. And then I've got the objects collection for the view layer, which is the trustworthy one, if you will. And if I can get this to ever in my life pop up in a good spot so it's not obtrusive, that would be nice. So Shift V, I'm going to grab the square socket to the square socket because that's going to be the collection. I'm going to grab a label node and pop it here. You can switch the category, you can see that, to my add-on. Come down here and grab my add-on. Nothing's showing up yet. As soon as we plug this in, we're now looping my label because there's two objects in the scene, and that's the view layer. And these are the ones that exist. So we can grab this object. Let's go back in. And under objects, for the view layer, we didn't change anything. I'm going to grab cube 001. Grab the search icon, and I'm going to type in name because there's always a name property for everything. This is a string value. So if I Shift V and drop this in, and I'm going to create a save point because I already saved this file, make sure to do that. Switch this to property, and now I'm going to be displaying the name. So I've got the appropriate name for whatever's there. Now, so this looks good. I'll go ahead and drop a box in. So everything individually, property-wise, is going to show up with its own box and look nice. Now I'm going to grab a display property here just for keepsake, so I can grab a property from the cube. And I'll go down to data for the mesh, and you can literally just grab anything you want. I'm just going to scroll down here, and I'm going to use the auto smooth angle float value. Shift V, drop that in, and I want to display that. And I'm going to switch it to property, and it'll say 30 degrees, and they'll both change to the same, because they're not connected to the loop yet. But as soon as you do that, and let's get fancy this time, and let's do a portal. Because if you haven't used portals yet, this would be nice for you. Switch the color to whatever you want. You can disconnect that, create a save point. Now I'm going to portal out across without having to use so many noodles. Now that was an input for that property value. Now it needs to be an output. It's data, so don't connect it. You will crash. And you can switch this to property. And for some reason, the screen's not big enough to go down to property for some reason there. It's probably because my size is off in edit. And now it'll show everything again. And now for the auto smooth angle to be corrected, we do this. And point light doesn't have that value, so it doesn't show it. Very nice. We like that, and it works good. And there would be an if statement done here. I wouldn't want to display this unless it's a light, right? So I can grab an if interface, drop this in. And I can grab a compare node and tie that into the Boolean value. Maybe bring that up a touch. And what I want to compare, I'll go back in, and I'm still under data mesh. So let me go back up here to cube, see if I can find type, because every one of these is going to have a type value as well. So if I shift V, drop that in, I'm going to put the string property in here, and then I'm going to grab a string node, and I can type this in. I'm going to switch this to property. I'm going to type in light, all capitals, because that is how it is behind the scenes in Blender. So now, according to this loop, if it is a light, show it. If it is not a light, do not show it as a property. So now that that is done, that's only going to be displayed for, well, actually, let's do this. Let's do that for mesh. I almost did that wrong. Create a save point. So now only the mesh object. If I shift R, recompile, it compiles successfully. If I don't have anything selected, shift R, it's going to compile successfully. And then sometimes you have to like delete your objects and check to see, but this should be good enough right here to create a good system check. So you're only displaying that for mesh objects. So now what we want to do is we want to create a variable, and let's go to the variables, just add it, and it's going to be something like my bool var for boolean variable. And what we're going to do is get the variable first, and I'm going to need a little bit more room here. Save point. I'll grab an operator, and now I'm going to grab a button, because this button is not going to be tied into the loop directly, and so it's going to be down here. And between the button and what else we're going to do, make a little more room here. I'm going to want an if execute. I'm going to plug this in, and what I'm doing with this is I'm just going to set the variable as the condition, and I didn't switch that to Boolean data type when I did it. So it's going to give us an error, and if it's connected, it's probably going to crash Blender. So let me go ahead and switch from data to Boolean, and now that'll connect nicely. And so what I want to do now is I want to set this variable for true. Shift D, make a copy, and then for false. So if it's true, we'll have it turn on. If it's false, we won't do anything. And now for the next fun thing we're going to do here is we want to get some switching nodes. So type in switch. We're going to want a switch data. Do it again. Grab the switch icons. Go ahead and plug the icon into the icon value of the button, because it's going to show up on the button once we select it. So you can go ahead and switch this to Boolean so you don't crash out. The data switch is going to control the icon which is displayed. So if you just go in here and type in mesh, grab anything you want. I'm going with the Suzanne head like I showed you guys. And then I'm also going to grab light. And that's what we're going to be switching. And what data am I going to be switching? Well, this is going to be really easy. There's a lot of nodes for this. So I'm just going to say is object type. Shift D, make a copy. Switch one of these to light. You can do this with any objects in any combination, in any complexity. So this is like going to be really easy to work with. And so my data type is going to be either a light or an object. And let me touch more room, because what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to put our get variable up here, because the operator, which is going to be running our button, is checking to see if what this variable is doing. and then what the variable is doing opposed to what data is plugged in. It's either going to be true or false. Very simple, very easy, hopefully, to understand. And so now I need to say I'm not using the active object. So if I use the active object, it may not be what is actually selected. So I want to grab this output for the loop for interface item, Control C, and just come over here, and wherever your mouse is, it should pop up, Control V. Make sure it's an output, set to property, and you can always verify this if you want to, but it's going to say 44C91, and you can verify that right there. And so now that we've got that, we want to tag this in to control the object type according to the loop for, so everything matches up. And that's the idea. And so apparently right now it's not actually doing anything, but we will make it work. And if we scroll back over here, we can kind of take over this if-else condition that is actually displaying, and we can display something else as well. Actually, we could throw, well, let's do this first. Switch this to custom, and let's grab the operator down here, which technically is our bool variable. And now that will show up as the bool variable. I'll just call this the change up. So when we click on this, it's going to start changing everything. And the data switch it's outputting the variable according to what is depressed. And so we want to plug this into the depress for the button. And then also I want to plug this in to the if-else condition. And it's not working yet. So let's see, what did I do or not do? Object mesh, one of those is a light. Very good. Looping through objects. Got the true or false variable. Okay, so what I did besides jumbling that up, let's lose that. I'll go back here, and I want another if else right before the label. So let me kind of clean this bad boy up. So right here, I don't want to display the label unless this condition is met. So I'll do an if else interface here, and then plug this in as the variable. And now that changes to only show what is selected currently. And one thing here, it's going to depend, so you want to play around with it however you did it. I'm going to make the true, turn that off, and I'll turn this variable on. And now if I change that, it's going to show point and point light. And if I do this, then it's going to show cube with that variable. Now for the point light, I don't have anything. So what I'll do is I'll copy the context here and go back to the Blend Data Browser. I'll just click reload just in case, view layer, objects, point light. And I'm going to want the data for the point light, which is right here. And then I'm going to select energy and hit enter. And I'll get that nice energy float value. And we can minimize that off. And I'll do another display here, and I'm going to display that from the interface from this. Actually, I don't want to do that. It's not quite what I want to do. So if it's if it's not a mesh, that's false, then do this thing. And then I want to show, and I'll go ahead and copy this because it's going to work nicely. I just want to show if it is a light. And so I'll tag that in there. That's good. Create another save point and Shift V. I'll drop that in. Switch this to property. Try to do that before you plug them in. And so now I'm going to show that property, and it also needs the loop. So I can Control C that and then Control V and dump a copy in and plug it in. And now we should get an energy value whenever we hit this, which we do. And so we'll turn up the light thing here. You can see the light properties. And so as I change this, it'll do its thing. And if I make a copy, it'll individually change the energy value here, you know, because it's now looping through. And so just to do a little bit of house cleaning here, I can actually Control J. I'll bring this down and I'll go to Node, add a color to this. Doesn't matter what color, something like that. And then I can put in a label. So this would be my light props, and I could add more to that and bring up the size for that label. And then I'll come over here, Control J that, and I'll give that some kind of color as well, and then bring this up. And this can be mesh props. So that way you can see everything really nice, and you can move a node around to kind of line them up, make it look nice. And down here, this is going to be our switch box. You can always hit F2 as well. So I'll type in switch box, and could just leave this one to like maybe a darker gray, since it's a little bit more of a, I just can consider this my fields. It's my fields function setup, if you will. So that's my switch box, and I do want to kind of move that off, something like that. And you know, you can grab your panel. I always like to put the panel to a color that I can like really see at a distance, and then just call that my main, and then bring the label size up. And so everything else, like the loop, the box, and this stuff, I can just kind of leave out so I can kind of see what's actually going on. And there you go. So this is now going to display, and if you change it up, you'll see just the properties for your shade smooth right here. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. Smash the like, smash the subscribe, take screenshots, leave comments below. Really appreciate everybody who has subscribed and supported the channel, and watch my ads for at least like 2 or 3 more seconds. Y'all have a good day.